Yo, what's up, Chris? How you doing?
Great, guys. Thank you so much for having me. Stoked to be here.
Yeah, for sure. We're super thrilled to have you on our show, and I know we have so much to discuss, and there's a lot of the nitty gritty that we definitely want to get into. But before we do, we always love if you could let our guests know who you are, what you do, and what your favorite drink is.
Ooh, that's a good one. I like all those questions. My name is Chris J. Evans. I'm a luxury destination wedding photographer. Been doing this 14 years. I've done weddings in over 7 countries, tons of
Wow.
celebrities. I love to travel. I love to create art, and I'm a reposado and soda guy all day long.
Super nice.
Nice.
Dang, man, I'm super excited to get into this. This is insane, right, Jade?
Yes. Can you share what inspired you to first become a photographer? And how did you start your career in wedding photography?
Yeah.
For sure, great question. So I got my first camera back in the 1900s. I'm gonna date myself a little bit. And it was a gift from one of my mom's friends, who's this amazing photographer, Roberta. Shout out to Roberta. And it was a Canon AE1, and I grew up in Laguna Beach. So my whole life was just at the beach, skateboarding, surfing, like just that beach, SoCal beach lifestyle. So, I mean, to capture that in like Ilford, 400 black and white film was pretty awesome.
Yeah. So cool. So cool. Yeah. So how did you get into like the wedding industry?
So after like just falling in love with just the art of photography to begin with, I ended up gravitating into fashion photography when I was like 18 to 20. I actually modeled, so I was with Wilhelmina, so I
Oh,
was
wow.
like in that world, and I got to work with some of the best fashion photographers in the business. And then I just got really inspired by doing fashion. And then I had moved to Maui in 2010 with my wife and kiddos, and a girlfriend who was a model asked me to do her wedding, and I did it reluctantly. And then put those pictures on Facebook because Instagram didn't exist yet. And another girl saw them and wanted me to do her wedding. And then again and again and again. And pretty soon it was like, I think I need to become a wedding photographer.
Oh
As
man.
you're already doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That's awesome.
I kind of fought it too. I was like 6 or 7 deep, and I was like, I don't know. Like, I was still trying to shoot them like a wedding photographer. And
Hmm.
then I had gone to there was this workshop that Pacific Weddings magazine had put on, and I had never done anything like that before in any part of my career. And I was like, okay, let me just go check it out, right? I'm sure I can learn something. And at that event, it was the first time I shot bridal editorial.
Oh,
So all of a sudden it clicked that I can actually make weddings a fashion shoot with just that sort of like intention.
yeah.
And this
Right.
was like right in the beginning of the editorial style, that we all call it now. So
Yeah.
I just latched onto that hard in like 2011, 2012. And then it just, again, it just spiraled.
Dude, that's so sick. So you already had like the awesome editorial mindset with fashion before you even got into the industry. That's rad.
In like the professional mindset of posing, that must
Yeah.
have given you a huge leap
Jump in the game.
forward.
Yeah. Super
It,
leap in the game.
it was really fun too because I was able to, like, at the time no one was doing that, and I was living on Maui now, so it was like everything was very, there was still like the old guard of like photographers there were still kind of like running things.
Hmm.
And when I burst on the scene, it was just like I had that young energy, I had that like that look and that feel, and it just in 3 years I became the top wedding house in the whole state of Hawaii, which was pretty cool.
Wow.
Dang. Dang. So you already had yeah, like Jade said, the posing when you were modeling. So you already knew how to like pose. The guys still look super GQ. And then
Yeah.
with your fashion background, you knew how to get the brides to look super editorial, Victoria's Secret model status. Dude, that is rad.
It was pretty fun. It all felt really organic too, and like
Uh-huh.
and as hard as I've worked in my whole career, it's like nothing has been, there hasn't been too many like crazy immovable objects in my path. I've worked really hard, but it's all just sort of like come together, which is really amazing.
Yeah. That's so cool, man. So I want to ask, so when we all start our businesses, we all have challenges that we face. So what would you say were some of your biggest challenges you faced when you first started, and how did you overcome them?
In the beginning, it was really just there was so many photographers, right? And
Yep.
when you're thinking of what you're doing and the other people in the space, when you're thinking of everyone as competition, well, then you're already sort of in a losing mindset in
Mhm.
my mind. So I needed to, I live in SoCal, right? I'm from SoCal, and basically I was equating the amount of photographers in Maui to like the amount realtors were to Southern California as wedding photographers were to Maui. So, I mean, it was like every other person you met, like identified as a wedding photographer, right?
Yeah.
And at the time, everyone had like this watercolor splash and the script logo, right? And we all remember that trend. And so everyone was the same. It was like the sea of the same, same, same. So I knew that if I was going to break through, I already had a different look. So now I needed different branding. And when I came out with a fashion forward logo with my name and not a made up name, that was the easiest first step in just everyone realizing that I'm fresh, I'm different, I'm new, and I'm appealing to those luxury clients that are coming from the mainland.
Well, yeah, that was a really good answer. And I definitely want to get more into that. And I like how you mentioned that. So pretty much you need to separate yourself in the saturated market because it's just,
It's the most important thing because there's a certain level, and now I'm in like one of like the furthest up lanes you can get, and it's like
yeah,
I'm competing against some of the biggest names in the business. But now it's at every step of this business, the work is pretty similar, right? We have standout. Obviously, we got Jose Villa, we got
yeah,
people
yeah.
just getting started, but no matter what lane you're in, the work itself is going to be so similar. Um,
Yep.
to to a lot of extent. So what's going to separate you is how you tell your story. It's your branding. It's how that emotional like response you can elicit from your clients, and that's the biggest thing that separates you from the pack.
Yeah, that's crazy. And like that was a really good answer. I know, and I liked from looking at your site, you do show like a lot of that emotion and real moments, which I feel like clients are attracted to. And I wanted to ask you too, do you feel like when you started, it was harder to compete with every photographer than it is now in this higher market that you're in?
It at every step of this business, it's like you continue to create and foster new relationships.
Mhm.
And when I was first getting started, it was a very wide net like mentality, right? So I was focused on SEO. How can I cast this wide net? But as I grew in my career and started making better and better connections with those higher end planners, well, instead of focusing I don't spend $1 on SEO anymore. It's not even I actually to me SEO is like it's a dirty word because if you cast this giant net, you might catch a couple fish, but you're going to catch an oil can, a tire. You're going to
Yeah.
catch a few things that you don't want to keep, right? So for me, by building these relationships, I'm now casting like one beautiful piece of bait at a time to catch like beautiful fish, and I'd rather catch one at a time. And at this price point now, that allows me to like have the space between and not be like, oh, I need 6 weddings when I only need like 2.
All right. Yeah, I was saying I really like how you put that out there that the SEO can just bring in everybody and anyone. You don't really know who's coming to your. I mean, you can target it a little bit, but you still don't know who's going to inquire. And I like how you make relationships with the planners and the couples that they're going to bring to your business, which is pretty brilliant.
For sure. And the further I've gotten in this business, my ideal customer, my client, they're not looking for a photographer they're not going to Google. Like
Mhm.
that's not how they're finding me. So for me, it's that referral. They call up, Holly from the country club, or you know what I mean? Or their wedding planner. And it's like they're getting these referrals from trusted sources and they're not going to the computer to do it. Like, Ferrari, Enzo Ferrari had a great quote where he says, they asked him why he doesn't run TV commercials. And he said, my customer is not watching TV.
Wow.
I just thought that was so powerful. So for me, I'm so much more invested in getting those referrals, those high touch, intimate, trusted source referrals than anything I could possibly get online.
Dude, this is insane. This is already gold to our listeners. But I want to ask too, because we've had an episode where we spoke to like 5 planners and a big discussion and how they want vendors to reach them and stuff. What tips would you give to photographers or anyone that's trying to make a relationship to a planner? Like how should they approach it?
That's a really good question, because some at the planner photographer dynamic, if they're just strangers to begin with, at this point in the industry, it's become a little strained. A lot of times, because I go to Engage, I go to RSVP, I go to all these networking things, and like you can almost see it, like planners with it's like the bouquet toss. All the photographers are like rushing at them, and like the planner's like, "Oh, get me out of here." So it's really about how you can foster real, authentic interactions and start to build authentic relationships that doing business with this person is the last possible thing in this conversation. Like when I meet a new planner, they know what I do. I know what they do. We don't need to talk shop. All we need to do is get to know each other. Like, tell me about your family. What do you like to do? Like, I want to get to know people. Especially, I do destination jobs, so I'll be with them 3 to 5 days. Sometimes we go to Europe, sometimes longer. So, everyone needs to know that we travel well, that we're cool, that we're like fun to be with, and we're not going to be like some weirdo in the 11th hour.
Dude, that's
I
insane.
love that.
Yeah.
Just building the connection rather than it feeling like you're obviously just trying to get on their list.
For sure. Because, also it's like, we all have a different sense of humor. We all vibe different. And a good planner will never just stick a photographer with a client. They want to know that this photographer is going to be the best, perfect, ideal fit for them.
Yes.
For their experience of the day and the experience of every email leading up to it, the engagement session, every bit of that high touch luxury service. They want to know that this photographer is capable of delivering that.
Dude, that's amazing. I like how you put it, like all the photographers, like a bouquet toss. The planner standing there and all the photographers are just running towards it. That's insane. That's so funny the way you mentioned that.
I mean, it's true, and look, we're all guilty of it. I mean, one planner can change your life. I have some planners that, they book me 6 figures a year, just one person. So it's like, these are very, very powerful, like, relationships. So you got to just go into them with care and with authenticity.
Yeah, I love it. All right, we could talk about the planners and relationships for days, but let's get into some techniques and tools. So as a photographer myself, I got to ask, what are you rocking in your camera bag on wedding day?
Everyone's going to laugh at me still, but my 5D Mark IVs are still my trusted steeds.
Nice.
It's like, they haven't broke. They give me exactly what I want every time. I know them so just intimately well that it's no longer even like a tool. It's more like an instrument for me. And I can just get out there and I can just do it. And one of the things too with, film is slowly making its little comeback again.
Yeah.
But with everyone going to like the R5s and the mirrorless, everything, the super high pixel counts, my work now has, even though I'm shooting digital, it has this softness, and now it has this aesthetic again that is like just keeping me still right in line with everything else that's kind of on trend.
That's so cool. So you're shooting film. What film camera do you use?
I don't shoot film. I'm shooting
you're not shooting film,
and they look like film.
Oh, nice! I love it.
And my A cameras, my 50 1.2, that never leaves the body. That's about 90% of everything I ever show is that 50 mil. And then I'll pepper in some like 24 to 70, maybe some 135 and a little 85. But other than that, it's the 50 mil has like, it bought my house on the beach. So
that's the king of all lenses right there, huh, Jade?
That's the best. That's the best ever.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any like favorite photography techniques that you can share with us, and how do you implement them in your work?
That's a great question. I love shooting wide open. It's definitely that was the biggest change for me coming out of fashion, Because coming out of fashion, I was like F8 and strobe everything, right?
Yeah.
Because we're selling clothes, right? And it's a different thing. So I was going for like, yeah, we were on sets and we were like, you know, different things. So I was shooting this very, very deep, deep depth of field always. So I never, until weddings, like that was everything I knew was like F8 strobe, right? And when I fell into weddings and I started to really discover like the softness and those qualities of like 1.2 and even 2.2, listeners, like shoot more 2.2 if you don't. That's like a magic aperture. But when you can create now, you know, images that are more about emotion than about like clothing and about like that for me was the biggest like sort of changeover. So my favorite technique is how can I shoot almost everything as wide open as possible? You know, when it fits for it. Obviously, if it's a big group portrait, we got to stop down. But I love shooting wide open. I love backlight special. Like, I mean, all around the world on my website, I've had backlight specials in snowstorms on the beach, and like in rain. I've got it. Just creates such a beautiful cinematic look, and it's just one of those things that everyone with their iPhone, everyone's become pretty okay photographers, but you backlight it, you strobe it, and you show them that, and like their minds are blown. Like, yeah, it's easy, but it's fun.
Dude, that's just so cool. I love it. Yeah. So when it's like wide open, you just get that soft photo look, which is like, I guess that goes into like the fine art photography kind of a category. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think all the terms are like, I'm a bit of a, I'm pretty sarcastic in my day to day. So like a lot of the terms, like I know they exist for a reason, but like
Yeah.
bright, gray, dark, moody, Pacific Northwest, fine art photographer. I don't know. I just like to make the prettiest picture for the scene in front of me
Yeah.
at all times. And if it's a bright and airy day, well, the work's going to look that way. And if it's dark and moody day, it's going to look like that. You know, I'm never trying to force a style or a look or a technique onto a scene that isn't already calling for it.
Dude, that's amazing. I like how you mentioned that. Yeah, it's very interesting. And I want to ask you, let's get into some, we're going to transition because this is a perfect transition into artistic style and approach. So I want to ask you a question that couples sometimes ask the photographer. So how would you describe your photography style and what influences have shaped it over the years?
Love this. I'm a fashion driven lifestyle photographer who's dedicated to creating an iconic body of work representing your love story in the most romantic, incredible, intimate, and authentic way possible.
Wow.
Dang, that's a heavy hit Mike Tyson punch.
Like best answer ever.
I book a lot of jobs just on the airplanes with that pitch. So.
Like that's it. That's one liner booked.
That's it. But no, I mean that's the truth. You know, I want to bring such an incredible experience to my guests that, you know, when I'm in this might be a little off topic, but when I'm in like the onboarding calls or the inquiry stage, you know, I'm never ever am I selling photography. I'm delivering photography. I'm selling an experience. I'm selling 14 years of me in this business, 25 years with a camera in my hand, more than that, 30 years. How old am I? 30 years with 30 years with a camera in my hand. And I'm selling the environment I'm able to create with my couples. Like when I walk into that dressing room and it's like the bride and her mom, grandma and all her girls coming in with that energy. I have two daughters, so I'm always just coming in with like that dad energy. How can we celebrate everybody's beauty in like such a safe, beautiful, incredible way? My team's walking in with the grooms, like all my guys are surfers, like, hey, what's up, guys? So it's like everyone is like this vibe that's just created.
Yeah.
That is where the value is established. And then the work is just I mean, obviously it's what they're paying me for, but the work plus the service is the magic.
That is huge. So that alone, every photographer could take away from this. So like if a couple ever asks them that question, don't be like, oh, you know, my style is dark and moody or light and airy. They don't really want to hear that because they could see that by looking at your website. So like what you described, like, you know, I'm here to capture the emotion, the beauty of your day. Like all that stuff you mentioned is what they want to hear, which is
For
perfect.
sure. It's like, how can we, one of my great mentors, John Dolan, he's like he's an icon of our industry. And he's even more like embracing the imperfections. Like he's the king of it. I mean, if you guys don't know him, look up John Dolan immediately. But, he taught me, this idea of seeking the truth to reveal the beauty. Right. So early in my career, and yes, I can pose people down to their pinky, and I will if I have to,
Mhm.
but that's not what really excites me when I'm working with couples. I want to give them direction. I want to let them move through these things so I can see who they are, because no two people look at each other the same. No
Yeah.
two people stand the same.
Mm.
And when I see that moment where they lock eyes and they pop their body in that place, and then I'm like, pause, and then I can like just enhance. Well, then I've sought the truth, and then I've like revealed that beauty, and then
Wow.
I create this image for them that I could not and would not create for the next couple, because that does not excite me anymore. Just doing same pose again and again and again. That's I can't work like that anymore.
Dude,
That's beautiful.
that's super beautiful. Like this is why we love this podcast is that you just hear the passion out of every vendor when they describe their work, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Let's start referring to each other as creative partners as well, and not vendors.
Creative partners.
Yes.
Love it.
Can
I'm
you
big
talk?
on verbiage.
Yeah, that's great. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of storytelling in your photography and how do you ensure each image tells a story?
Jade, that's a great question. I love what I love about weddings as a medium is you have the main storyline already there, right? So we have this arc that's already going to take place, and it's the same arc essentially every single time, right? So within that, I think a lot of people who become jaded, they go on autopilot, right? And they're no longer seeking what I'm about to say, which is if it's the same arc every time, but everyone has different characters. Everyone is going to have this opportunity to find stories within the story. And every wedding, you never know what it's going to be. Sometimes they're going to bring their dog. Sometimes it's going to be their nephews, the little ring bearer, the flower girl. Like there's going to be like a grandpa that steals the show, right? Like, so I'm always on the lookout, and I've trained my whole team to be like, look, you've got to look for the characters and start to anticipate where they're going to go and find these little micro stories. One of my favorite images, I'll send it to you guys after this, but it was the bride's like getting ready in the room, and it's pretty crowded. All her bridesmaids, she had like 15 bridesmaids. They're like pinning the veil, and the shot is the flower girl. She's overwhelmed, right? And she's leaning against like the wall, and she's like kind of hunched over, like looking up, like in this like really cute kind of like nervous way, while there's
Yeah.
all this other frenetic energy. And it's just, to me, that told such a story within the story, that those micro moments, aside from all the big ones, that's what I'm looking for, is those really just things that nature and the energy of everyone there created this little moment of stillness in the chaos. And I love, love, love that.
Dude, this is insane. So I see a common thing that's happening in this luxury market because we've had some other photographers in your market and they pretty much describe that they look for the moments. When they first started, they said when we first started, we were always thinking the shots we must get, the must haves. And now like you guys are always about the moments. And I feel like, do you think that's what the editorial vibe, the look is?
I think that term in itself is now like, it's now become a throwaway term.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, to me, editorial just means you're going to create this really beautiful, like organic photograph the event, of the person, of the couple, of the bride. Like, it means so many different things. But to me, it just means that we're going to capture it in a way that's not grab and grin. We have to look, even at this level of the business, I'm lining up family portraits. We're calling people out. Like, we're cracking the whip. We're getting the muskets, like 100%, but to me, editorial just means we're looking for these moments that, like I said before, that I couldn't recreate with another couple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what it truly means. It's very authentic.
Yeah, that's so crazy because I feel like something that's truly authentic is sometimes hard to get for some photographers, which is because they're just, I guess they're not scanning the field, looking to find the moments. They're just stuck on the bride and groom and trying to just capture them the whole time.
I think too, it's the level you're willing to invest yourself emotionally into the experience. And again, going back to my mentor, John, like, he'll walk into an event, he'll find a quiet corner, and he says that he'll sit down. Like, when he first walks in, he just sits down and he like closes his eyes and kind of meditates, and he just listens. He's just listening to conversations, to the rhythm. Like, he takes, I mean, he is a master, and he just starts to get a vibe and a feel of the energy that's happening. And then he is just dancing within that energy with very, very, very little influence.
Wow.
Now, I create a lot more influence because that's just my nature.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm going to let things play out as far as they can go before I offer that little prompt or that little thing.
Dude, this is jam-packed with little tips and knowledge right here. I love it. My God. I wanted to ask something about when you work with clients. So how do you collaborate with the couple to ensure that your vision aligns with the wedding day expectations?
That's a great one. It's because it's never about my vision. It's always about their vision.
Wow.
So when we're talking and we're in that consult, it's like, obviously by the time we get to a Zoom, like, they've deep dived my website. They've like stalked my gram. They they already are coming to the table educated. And a lot of times now they've already seen me in action at their friend's wedding or, so there's a bit of a reputation that precedes me. But then again, the first part I do is when you open up that album and you look back at your day, like, what do you want to remember? And then I just shut up and I just let them talk. And my little AI assistant just records everything so I can just listen. And then, and then I just say, that's exactly how we're going to do it. We're going to and it comes down to essentially the same 3 words every time, which they want effortless, they want glamorous, and they want real, So as long as I'm producing that and I'm operating in that mindset, well, then they're going to be happy. And then I'm inspired.
That is amazing. So basically, see, this is what people, I feel like some photographers are afraid of, is when the client wants to share their vision of how they want you to capture it. And you're just like, tell me your vision and I'm going to capture it because I'm still going to put my, my ingredients to the work, to the pictures that you receive. It's still going to be my style, but you're capturing how they want it, which is amazing, which is like an easy booking and overall better experience for the client. I mean, it's just a win-win in general.
And that's our job. We're serving at their pleasure,
Yeah.
and they're making, pretty sizable investments in us, no matter what stage you are in your career. Even even if you're charging $5,000 for a wedding, that's still a lot of money. You know what I mean? So it's like, no matter what they're investing, this is still keeping me from waiting tables, which I will do again if I had to. It's keeping me from working in the film industry, which I've done before, which I would do again. But, I think too, what a lot of people need to kind of come back to is that sense of gratitude, and I'm so full of gratitude that this industry and these couples and my clients have trusted me and invested in me to like provide this incredible life for me. So it's like, I feel that I owe them like not only great photos, but one heck of an incredible experience.
Yeah. Dude, that's, yeah, the passion is coming through the screen over here, Chris.
True, man. Yeah, I mean, it's all true because I love it, you know? I love it.
All right, man. So we want to get, so we know you travel all over the world for your destination weddings. So we want to get into a little bit about that, right, Jade?
Yeah. How has travel influenced your photography style and creativity?
I mean, nothing inspires me more than when I show up at a new place.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's
Mhm.
like, yeah, all of it goes into it. When I'm like packing for a trip, am I going to the mountains? Am I going somewhere tropical? Like, and then I'm always getting the mood board from the clients. Like, what's each party? What are the outfits going to be you want for the guests? Because we're part of the party, right? So each step of this, it starts to build this excitement, this energy. And then like going to the airport. And anytime you travel for work, you know, I got my Pelican case. You're like, all right, this is kind of cool. So it starts to kick off like, you know, you're excited about where you're going, you're excited about what you're going to do. And then, you know, just when you get to this new place and you see like, because the light is different everywhere we go, you know, like sunsets in Hawaii are different than sunsets in Spain. And like, you know, afternoons in Romania are different than like, so it's just, it's so much inspiration constantly. And I'm so grateful for those opportunities that when I get to these places, I'm like, how can I shoot this as different and unique and cool as possible?
Dude, I love that. And that brings me to my next question perfectly is how do you prepare for a destination wedding to ensure you capture the best shots?
You know, it's understanding where we're going,
Mm.
understanding times of day, sunrise, sunset, right? Communicating effectively with your planners so we have a very efficient timeline, so we're not going to have any bottlenecks in the day. And then ultimately, it's just, you know, you throw a wide angle on, you know, you're going to catch that sense of place, and
Yeah.
you know, you can't mess that one up. So I think it's really important at every one of these stops to not only tell the couple's story, but to tell the story of where we're at as
Mhm.
well. So I always arrive a day before any scheduled events start. So I use that first day to like do my walk around. I'll walk around with my crew, we'll scout the locations, and we're shooting as much just scenic content as we can to like, how can we tell the story of this new place? You know, we're shooting from the taxi and then we're going through Rome, like we're getting like great
So
pictures of
sick.
Rome. Like, so it's like, how can we create not only the wedding story, but the story of the place? Because the couple's not out there taking those photos too of that
Mhm.
quality. So we want to deliver all of that for them.
That is amazing. So yeah, you're just going there and just giving them the full experience from, like you mentioned, the destination and their event, which is
For sure.
perfect.
Because you
Awesome.
have to too, because that's how I'm gonna be posting all that content too, you know, unless it's an NDA, but like then all of a sudden it's like someone else, they could just see, I've had clients book me just because they saw a picture I did of like Florence, of a statue in Florence, right? And then they're like, that led them down the rabbit hole. So you just never know.
That's amazing. So it's true what they say, post who you want to attract.
I preach that, I scream that all day long. Yes.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Are there any other tips you can share for photographers looking to incorporate travel into their work?
Yeah, so if you don't have anything booked, like just pick a place you want to go, right? And just go there. And and just utilize the web, find a couple, do an editorial. I never call them styled shoots, by the way. They're always called an editorial.
Editorial.
Shoot an editorial, partner with a great local planner, local florist, create the strongest content you can, and then just start posting it, start telling your story, reaching out to your existing network already and be all like, hey, I'd love to work in Italy, or if you got anything in Mexico, I'm dying to work down there. Because one planner will be like, oh, I don't do anything in Mexico, but oh, this one does, right? So utilizing the connections you already have is a really undervalued like opportunity. And I think more people, if they utilize their existing connections better, then they're going to like go further.
That's huge. I remember I was speaking to this one photographer and she mentioned that she wanted to work in Italy more. So she just reached out to this planner that was there and she was like, hey, you know, I love your designs and so forth. She's like, I'd love to meet you. And the planner was just like, okay, great. Yeah, just come to Italy. And
Yeah,
not thinking that she would. And then the photographer went over there and met with her and they were just like, whoa. And they became friends. And now she's getting bookings in over there, which is
100%. I mean, it happens just like that. And like in every venue you work at, if it's a new venue, like you absolutely need to be leaving with who the catering manager is, who like their top 3 planners they work with are. Like,
whoa.
you can extrapolate so much like usable data and actionable like connections just by talking.
Dude, that alone, that one thing you just said, just meeting the caterer manager and finding out who their 3 top planners are is like a huge takeaway because I didn't look at it that way. That's insane. That's awesome.
If you're not leaving every job with at least 3 to 10 leads, then did it even happen?
Yeah, seriously. All right, Chris. So I can already tell with this passion and you like got knowledge up the woo-ha here. So I gotta let's get into some building a powerful brand. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah, man. So what strategies have you found most effective in establishing your brand in the competitive wedding industry?
So, you know, I leaned into the editorial thing very early, like I said, right? And along with that, I was also building, you know, and I don't want to say this in any way that sounds unauthentic, but I was building not only my photography style, but I was building my persona, my digital persona, my online persona, right? Which shares many exactly who I am in my day to day. But I live at the beach. I'm a surfer, so what I post on social, 90% of it is I'm very into fashion. I'm very into style, which is why I'm able to produce the work I do because I do live this life. So by wearing I wear all custom suits. I'm always talking about my suits. I'm talking about my clothes. I'm talking about the fashion. And that sometimes can be polarizing, but in a good way, because some clients will land on my feed and be like, he's too much for me. And that's not my right client. Whereas the other one will be like, that's exactly who I trust to do what I want. Right. So by leaning into who you are and amplifying that to like, without being cheesy or I do take it too far sometimes, but you have to be able to amplify your persona and exemplify exactly what you're going to bring to the table. Because like I said earlier, that's the only way that's going to separate you from the pack. Like I'm very proud of my work, but there's hundreds and thousands and millions of other photographers that produce work I could only ever dream of. You know, so it's like for me, what separates me? It's how I'm going to present, how I'm going to show up, how I'm going to introduce myself to your dad, how I'm going to like, you know, all of that. When I walk into that room and just like a beautiful tailored suit, that experience and that value proposition is realized instantly. And that is the number one key that everyone I talk to, I'm scared to put myself out there. I can't put the camera on myself. Like if you don't, I'm booking the job.
That is brilliant advice. So yeah, I find like myself, I find it hard to just stand in front of the camera. I'm behind the cameraman. So it's like standing in front of it all the time and just, it's like, what do I talk about? So you just want to show, because like you mentioned, every photographer is showing their work, but they don't know who you are. Yeah, that's crazy.
You have to create a space where your clients not only love your work, but they have to fall in love with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, social media and telling the stories and the reels, this gives us all an opportunity to not only create clients, but create fans, right? Like I do my best work when I walk in and the bride is like, oh my gosh, so happy you're here. Like sometimes I've never met them in real life, right? So they're like, I walk in and we've already been like these social friends and they've been following along and like celebrating my wins with me. And then all their friends, like, she hasn't stopped talking about you. Like, so when I walk into that kind of energy, I'm already so inspired in my own mind and like the confidence is through the roof. And you couldn't create that environment for yourself if you aren't effectively telling your story.
Yeah. Speaking of social media, I think that leads into another great question.
Yeah. So what role does social media play? If you could enhance on this, elaborate on this in your brand strategy, how do you leverage it to reach your audience?
Social media is everything. With the advent of collaborations, that has really, really,
Yeah.
really upped the game. It's exponentially increased the reach. And the algorithm's always changing, right?
Yeah.
And there's going to be 1,000 people that are going to preach SEO and maximize the algorithm. I don't care about tens of thousands of people seeing my posts. I care about the 2 right ones.
Right.
I care about the 5 right ones. I care about the 1 planner to see my post and be all like, you're perfect for this job, right? Now, all these numbers are important for sure. More eyes, more numbers. It is a numbers game, that is true, but I rather focus on putting out the content I want to put out when I want to put out. I don't have anyone doing my social for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, if I feel like posting this at 2 a.m., I'm going to post it at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's just because in my mind, when I'm staying on it and keeping this personal relationship with my fans, then we're building something bigger than just myself, bigger than just my photography. We're building a community. And when you can share that, when your fans and your followers feel that love from you, that's when it starts to create and transcend something larger than just a photography business.
That's insane. So I wanted to ask, we've had some planners mention this, and I want to know what your thoughts about it is, that your Instagram is your portfolio and your website is your personality.
That's interesting. To me, I think it's all the same. I feel like my website is more like is the business, right? I still tell my story like really effectively there, for sure, but that's in the suit, that's buttoned up, that's all the verbiage, that's all those things. Whereas for me, my social is everything else. It's me at the beach with my kids, it's me surfing, it's me just having a good time and celebrating life, because that's where we get all the eyeballs. I get 30,000 views, a week on my Instagram, and I get 1,000 a month on my website.
Yeah.
The eyeballs are on Instagram. So that's where you've got to be building this persona for me.
So when it comes to Instagram, I got to ask, because this is a question that's been kind of trending around in the industry, is who are we really posting for? Are we posting for the couples? Are they truly seeing it? Or are we posting just for the creative partners?
I think it's changed so much. Like it continues to change all the time, but honestly, I think we're posting for everyone. Honestly, like I built my whole new website was built strictly for the luxury planners.
Yeah.
It attracts everybody else, but when I reach out to a new planner and they go to my website, they clearly see that Chris works around the world and with celebrities, and he's solid, and the clients see that too. But I think for Instagram, it's like I'm just gonna just scream as loud as I can for anyone who wants to hear it.
It's just a safe space. Just everything goes on there.
I don't know if it's safe, but it's a space.
All right, Jade, I think she got something here about some photographer mistakes.
What are some common mistakes photographers make when trying to build their brand, and how can they avoid them?
I think, and this is the hardest one, but it's also a mistake that everyone has to make in the beginning, right? You have to take everything. In the beginning, you have to take everything. You have to shoot. Like when I first started in Maui, I was doing over 100 weddings a year at one point. And that was everything from like 1 hour shotgun beach weddings to like luxury estates, right? But you have to do it all. And in the beginning, sure, you're gonna be taking jobs in like, the receptions at the cafeteria of an elementary school, or like it's gonna be but you have to flex that muscle, and you have to practice, and you have to get good at making the ordinary extraordinary, right? But there is a point, and this is a mistake, is that you have to know when to exit that circuit and when to start saying no, and start to create more exclusivity in your brand. Because if all of a sudden, if you're chomping at the bit at every single job, sure, you're going to be making money and you're going to be working. But if the job isn't moving your needle exponentially every time, well, then it's not worth the money to me anymore, And early in my career, when I finally figured that out, I was like, if I spend 8 hours working on my brand instead of going and doing this like lower budget wedding at a place that I'm not going to even be able to use these pictures really. Yeah. Well, 8 hours working in my brand is better than 8 hours on that job. So I think that is a mistake, is just going too long and too far in a safe space or in jobs that aren't going to move your needle.
That's true. And that's something that I feel like, yeah, like you mentioned, a lot of photographers can just get comfortable in just the paycheck ones and just going with the flow instead of trying to enhance and build their brand and get themselves to that next level, which is a lot of work.
It is. And if you're happy there, then it's not a mistake, then stay there, But I think and also another mistake is just not taking risks. It's like, I want to go into every wedding. I want to try something new every single time.
Yeah.
And after 14 years and 700 weddings, like that's challenging sometimes to find something new to try to do, but I'm going to try. Like, let's put you more in the bush. I want more leaves, or like whatever, like try it, because at this point they trust you, and you might make something amazing. You might make something that you just don't ever tell anyone again that you tried.
That's huge. So Chris, what's one piece of advice that you would give people in this industry that's looking to transform their brand into a powerhouse?
I think it's first and foremost, like if you want to elevate into luxury, I think it's identifying what that word even means to you. That's the biggest pitfall. I think a lot of people, they just assume luxury just means expensive. Well, for me, like my 5 pillars of luxury have nothing to do with price. Like for me, luxury means it's a feeling that personally, when I feel seen, pampered, taken care of, like adored and just and respected, and I can get that if I walk into a burrito shop. I get that when I walk into the Four Seasons. But when I feel those things, I feel that this is already a higher end experience, right? And luxury means something different to everyone. So for me, I put those pillars into my service with my clients, right? So I think if everyone out there can identify the things that make them feel the best in their life when other people give that to them, well, then if you start to infuse that into your business, well, then that's going to take you to the next level.
Super huge. That alone, I'm gonna let that sink into the listeners real quick.
And with each of those pillars, you get to add another 0 to your price.
Yeah, my goodness. Dude, Chris, you've been hitting this with some great knowledge and tips and advice for the people. But now we want to get into something super fun that we call this or that.
Okay.
So we're just going to hit you out with some questions and you just say which rapid fire answer.
Beach vacation or mountain retreat?
Beach.
Film or digital?
Digital.
Comedy club or live concert?
It's who's playing. I mean, a concert, but I love concert.
Yeah. Candid shots or pose shots?
Candid.
Sweet or savory?
Sweet.
Prime or zoom lens?
Prime.
Early bird or night owl?
Early.
Wedding photography or fashion photography?
Fashion wedding photography.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Netflix binge or outdoor adventure?
Well, I'm outdooring all day, but then I come home and binge. So.
Yeah. It doesn't both.
Attend or host a party?
Attend.
only shoot in color or black and white?
If I could only pick one,
Yeah.
black and white.
Wine or beer?
Wine.
Smartest person in the world or richest person in the world?
Happiest.
There you go.
Success or happiness?
You answered that.
I mean, I'm already happy, so let's go with success.
There we go. Local or destination wedding?
Destination.
All right. We love doing those, dude. You killed it. Those are so fun to do. It's just fun to like learn more about you, you know, the creative partners here. So, and one last question we like to ask, Chris, if you could choose any superpower to have while working a wedding, what would it be and how would it help you?
Invisibility.
Whoa.
I mean, I'm already like, I'm like, again, I create such an environment, right? Which is part of the magic, but I know I could take so many things even further if I was completely invisible, right? Like because I don't have the capacity to be in a room and not have a presence. It's not in my nature. I can read the room and I can keep my mouth shut and be out of the way for sure. But I think if I could be invisible, I could find these moments that were so sublime and just ethereal and intimate and ultra authentic that it would take the work to even a whole nother level.
Dude, that is brilliant. I love that. That's the first time we've heard invisibility. So that's smart. Like you walk in there with these freaking Gucci suits. Everyone's like, whoa, let's get cracking their necks. But yeah, if you walk in there invisible, you're just capturing the prime moments that are just happening.
Yes, Gucci shoes, Louis belt.
This guy just coming in.
I'm so bougie, but this industry made me that way.
That's awesome. Dude, that is so cool. I love that answer. So can you let our listeners know where they can find you?
Online on the gram at Chris J. Evans Photo. My website's my name, Chris, the letter J Evans, chrisjevans.com. And I've got a whole host of educational materials about to drop, master classes coming, and I'm speaking at a wedding MBA this year. So come see me there and jump in my class.
Perfect. And we'll put all of that info in the description down below so you can find it all there.
Yeah, Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to be on our show. I know you got a lot with the celebrities and all this cool talks, but we appreciate it, man.
Well, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And someday we'll do happy hour in real life.
Oh, yeah.